old, not grandfather,
Something with the S, no?
my grandfather learned in Israel. Panovich Arav.
Okay, yeah, he said dream awake. So here we are
Whether you're
dreaming.
dreaming,
Here
we're
we are
dreaming, but I'm
dreaming awake
awake.
because this is
That's right.
definitely a dream.
Make sure my yarmulke is visible so people see.
Yeah, this is for sure.
6:15,
This is for
6:15.
sure a dream. Being here right now with you. So he was gonna give us the go ahead once we're live,
Hey,
live,
what's up?
recording.
Sure, what's up?
I love you, brother.
We got this. We got this.
This is a
All
real
right,
brother. This is a real brother. Ellie, take
we're
us
good.
off. Introduction.
We're live. Okay, gentlemen, we're live. I have my whole spreadsheet here. Yeah, it's amazing to be here. Well, obviously, as we go along, people get to know us a little bit more. But it's a big move that we're here finally. And I have an idea. Why don't you start the intro?
Sure.
I feel like you gave me the rundown. And
My
then we'll go from
pleasure.
there.
So first of all, I just want to introduce your hosts, Avraham Eli Melech Shane.
AKA go by Ellie.
We're gonna call him Ellie, the goat. Born and raised. Born in Lakewood.
Yeah, born and raised in Lakewood.
Born and raised in Lakewood. Age 25.
25.
And yours truly, Yoshua Benelli, born and raised in Lakewood, 25 years old, coming to you on this podcast on a beautiful day, another day, breathing air. My entire body's working, heart's beating, everything's working all by itself. God bless. So, you all just want to welcome, dude, and give a little introduction. This whole podcast, what it's about, really, is that me, Ellie, Shane, and I, we've spent so much years together and so much time, hours together, speaking about things that are not talked at all in the education system. About you learn math and you learn history and you learn how to spell and you learn how to write, you learn how to do all these things, but you're never taught how do you deal with failure? How do you deal with depression? How do you deal with peer pressure? How do you deal with your getting your hopes up? How do you deal with expectations? How do you deal with betrayal? How do you deal with lies? All these things that are essential to every single person. Every single human has these feelings, and he has and experiences a bunch of these feelings, if not more, on a day-to-day basis. Going to work, at home, at school, with their friends, no matter where, even by themselves, they'll feel this. And it's not talked about at all in any educational system. Like, how are we not supposed to fail in that sense when we go through life and I get upset? How am I supposed to not get upset in the sense and just give in to my anger if I was never taught how to deal with anger? How am I supposed to, what does it mean when I'm angry? Why am I getting angry? I never was taught any of those things. The only thing we were taught was the things out of the math books and everything, which is nothing against the beautiful education, amazing. Thank God we were all very literate. A few hundred years ago, not everyone had the freedom to be able to just pick up a page and read words that a random person wrote. Reading words, to be able to read, that was, you had to be a genius. But today, like, every single person reads. So that's why Ellie, Shane, and I, very early age, I would say about 17, 18. Probably the time, this is very important because as Ellie saying started off, we're going to introduce ourselves slowly more as we get into the podcast. You're going to get more and more feel for who we are, where we came from, what we've been through, how we've grown, our failures, our successes. My goal personally, I try to be the most authentic, real person. It itches me in the worst places when I find myself faking and trying to be something I'm not. That's when I find myself literally the most angry, depressed, all these things that stems from not being myself. So that's what we're going to try to present in these things. We're going to be our full authentic self, which is going to be very big and very deep, because who we are is a very big and deep thing. Every single person, who they are in essence, is very big and very deep, because it's an entire lifetime of building in order to get to where they are and where they are now. And depending on how old the person is and how rich of an experience, in the sense you can live 1 year and you can live 10 years, and then you can live 1 year and have more life experience in that 1 year than you lived in 10 years. So at an early age, around 17, 18, just to put it straight, where most people, I would say, not everyone, but for most people in the world, when you're 17, 18, especially for Ellie and I, who were very good looking, bodybuilding at the time when no one was bodybuilding. Search it up, 2016, try to find Try to find someone in 2016 doing a rear lat spread or front and double biceps. Everyone wasn't. There was no bodybuilding back then. We
should call out Nelson Moore.
Oh yes, the old crew. We got the old crew of Halo Bodybuilding. We'll give a shout out to Halo Bodybuilding. It doesn't exist on Instagram anymore, but it exists in our memories. So shout out to Nelson Moorman, Moishi Wasserman, Ellie Shane, Yoshua Benelli for forming the Halo Bodybuilding crew on a Saturday afternoon, Shabbat afternoon.
For clarity, we were discussing the idea and we opened it. Shabbat,
that's true. Night. That's true. The name came to mind on Shabbat. And that's when afterwards we got to work after Shabbat. We got to work on it. So back then, as we were getting into our prime teenage years, something crazy. We did something absolutely crazy. Is the only word I can think of to define it, is that instead of just thinking how can we maximize our fun and party 24/7, which is for most people, and again, I want to be very clear whenever I talk, I'm never saying anything in a judgmental as right or wrong. I opened up with Ellie before we even opened the recording and started. I said in this podcast there is no right or wrong. We are here just to talk and discuss, and every single person has that right to express what they're thinking and what they're feeling freely without having to think, am I thinking or feeling the right or wrong thing? So, as we were saying, the partying, there is nothing wrong with partying and having fun. I love partying and I love having fun. Don't get me wrong. Go on my bodybuilding, I have motorcycles, I love all that stuff. I'm an adrenaline junkie. But at that time where every single teenager is going off and just wants to have the most fun, Ellie, Shane, and we did something very unique, which is only the word crazy because it's not a normal thing to do, is we decided that, as we said, life is very rough and we were not taught some of the most essential things, meaning we were taught things that are kind of secondary. Not kind of. We were taught the secondary things. We were taught how to succeed in the social world, in the world of business and all these things. But when it came to our personal world and relations, there was absolutely no lessons in that. So we realized we're pretty much set up for failure. And if we just keep going like this, as you hear from most people, how's life? Not bad, doing okay, getting by, it's okay. I didn't want to live a life that's not bad. I didn't want to live like, it's okay. I didn't want to live a life like that. I wanted to live my best life.
Or as they say, same blank, different day.
Exactly. Know? Same garbage, another day,
like,
right?
Wow, I can't wait to get up tomorrow. Then.
Yeah, and like everyone just wishing to get out of work. It's like, why is that the default setting to life where it's just life is garbage and I have to just try to find a way to make it better? I don't want that. I want to be able to wake up generating my awesome feelings. I want to be able to wake up generating all those positive things that I want to feel from the inside.
I want to throw in something. Obviously, we'll get to the introduction of our rabbi. Well, I'm not going to say his name now, but he told me one line. He said, true self-care, he read a quote, true self-care is not bubble baths and chocolate cake. It's building a life you don't have to regularly escape from. But we'll expound on everything.
Huge smiles. Whenever you hear the quotes from rabbis, you're going to see huge smiles. Lights it up because it hits home. So as we were saying, just to quickly circle around, when at an age of 18, when most of the time you're trying to basically do the maximum escape from reality because everything is just seemingly sucks. Everyone hates their job. 70% of Americans back then hated their work. I don't know what it is at now. Probably way more since we got COVID checks and people got used to getting paid for doing nothing. So probably way more than 70% hate their jobs at this point. And I was like, I am not doing that. I think God grew up from a very stern background in the sense my father is very, very strong in his mind. When he sets his mind to something, he doesn't back down. He's going to accomplish no matter what. I inherited that from him, I think. And when I said I'm not going to live a life,
and you're Moroccan, right?
And I'm Moroccan, so we got that fire. But as I said, I'm not going to live a life that I'm just trying to run away from all the time, and that it's not bad. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go to work every single day doing what I don't want to do. I'm not going to work for money so I can have money, but spend most of my hours awake doing things I don't want to do. So what if I have money if I'm not doing what I want to do? So we decided to basically disconnect from the physical and from the mundane, because that's kind of what drowns our senses and kind of gives us that static, which it doesn't allow us to focus on the inside. When you have a lot of static on the outside, you can't hear what's going on inside. And in order to solve all these problems that we're talking about, you have to go inside, because the problems start inside. As much as there could be someone who's getting us angry, there is something in us that gets angry when that person does whatever he is doing, which is why we're getting angry. So it all goes inside. So we decided at a time where, okay, so what do? You got to disconnect, but we didn't want to go all the way to Japan and sit on a mountain and meditate for our entire life or the entire day, and then eat a little bit of water, drink a little bit of water, and eat a slice of papaya.
Maybe some
because
Wagyu.
some once in a while, maybe some snake soup or something.
Protein.
Because being real, as that's part of one of my big goals, as we said, is that I want to enjoy life. I love food. I love physicality. I love riding motorcycles. I love working out. I love looking good. I love dressing nice. I love all these things. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to disconnect 100% from the physicality. So ironically, not ironically, because this is God, everything is designed by God. And he designed that Israel, where we went to go learn about ourselves, is placed in the middle of the earth. In the sense, you have the West culture on the left side and you have the East culture on the right side. And then you have the East culture, which represents complete spirituality, and you have the West culture, which at the moment, not at the moment, but for the most part of history, represents complete physicality. Amass big wealth, get a big house, get a nice car, have good food, all those things, physicality.
Get big medical bills. We'll talk about that later.
That's what they did, yeah. So Israel, godly design, is placed right in the middle because it's the balance to be able to be in the world, but not of the world, as the quote goes. I forgot who the saying is. If someone wants to write in the comments or send afterwards, write where this is from. But it's not, right, what it means to be a man, right? Because we're all created, every single man. When I say man, I say very specifically man, because I'm not talking about a Jewish man. As much as Ellie and I were both observant Jews, it has nothing to do with that. I'm talking about a regular man. Before Jews ever came into the picture, you can see at the beginning, one of the first chapters in the Bible, in the Torah, Hashem created man. God created man in the image of God. Man was created in the image of God. I did not have the verse in front of me, so I did not quote it exactly, but those are the words, which means all of mankind. Anyone who is a human being, who walks on two legs, has their head above their shoulders. As the main difference I learned from, we're going to go into our holy rabbi, our holy Rebbe, the main difference we can see between what's the animals and humans, the difference is that animals and physical. The main physical difference is that animals, their head is lower than their body, because their body controls their head. Animals are completely instinctive. No matter how smart an animal can to develop skills, it is still instinctive and survivalist. And the proof is when you see these animals when they're in their survival position. So as much as a dog can be very well trained, when it comes to push, if the dog is threatened, it will do whatever it needs and it will thrash and be a dog in order to survive, which is beautiful because that's how God created the dog and that's how it's designed. So all animals, their heads are lower than their shoulders. When it comes to the human, does a human have his head above his shoulders? Because the human has instincts and a human is animalistic. There is animal traits, of course, and that's why we're very comparable to other mammals. But, sorry guys, there was a little bit of a squeak. But the human has instincts, but he has his mental, his brain on top of his instincts, and since his instincts does not control his head controls the instincts. So you can have the temptation of there's delicious food, I want it, but then I'm a human, so I can decide, no, I'm not going to eat it. But even if I'm starving, which is now survival, right? Because the first part was just the human desire, I want nice food. But even when it comes to survival, right? Because as we push to survival, then we go back to our instincts. Even when it comes to survival, we have the opportunity to say, I need to eat, but this is a live animal, and I'm not allowed to. God said we can't eat from a live animal. Those are one of the 7 Noahide laws that apply to every single man. That's just part
fish
of
you could eat from
so
wine,
so
but-
right. So we're not going to go into what's saliva and what's considered eating. That's not the point. The point is that's we have the power to say, even though I'm starving and I need to eat, I'm going to use my mind to control my instincts, because that's what it means. That's part of what it means that God created man in his image, in the sense that we have the power to overcome physicality. And not to overcome physicality for the sake of overcoming it, to overcome physicality so that we can do precise, so we can use physicality, but not physicality so that physicality becomes the end. We want to be able to use, for example, Ali Shane and I, we don't work out for the sake of just being strong. We want to be able to be strong so we can help people who are weak, for example. That's a perfect example. The goal, if a person was just chasing physicality, he would just want to develop big and strong muscles and look good. That would be chasing physicality as an end. If a person wanted to use physicality, he would be developing big muscles and strong muscles because he knows he can help people who aren't as strong. He can help an old person who can't carry his bag across the street. He can help someone who fell, so a heavy person who falls. It's not easy to pick them up. He can help them pick them up. So now he is now using his physicality as a device for spiritual, right? That would be spiritual purpose. And anything that we say spiritual, I would just say, comes down to bettering the world, because the world was created first in the spiritual, and then it was created in the physical. When we connect to the spiritual, we're connected to the truth. I'm going to go a little too far off right now, so we're going to actually circle back. We're going to see this conversation. Guys, I want to save that conversation for another time, though. But yeah.
I always hear people say, like, this guy really had a hard life, and then he made a complete 360 in his life. I'm like, dude, that means he came back to the same place. That's the 180, you know?
Okay.
I want to go just quickly jump in what you said about, like, the mind. You meant it in resistance to food, but the mind could go to anything. It could be behaviors, like someone does something, right? Stimulus response. If someone does something, you feel angry, and then you could choose how to react. Some people just, when people don't realize that we're created in our creator's image, then they just kind of do what they want when they feel like. You could listen to I would say, rap songs nowadays, how just, we're the OG. We're thinking about Eminem. We're thinking about these guys who had some kind of, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But it's very impulsive, and people have to realize that they're creating that image. Once they're realizing that they're in that image, that's your kind of, wow, like, I have to step up.
Right.
Societies, we'll get into that also later, society and putting us down.
It's kind of the good metaphor for stepping up, I would say, is kind of like what it means to be the right idea of an officer, for example, of the government. It's not that, oh, you're an officer, so you're better than everyone else, and that's why you have higher standards. It's because you're an officer and you're representing the government, you're representing the king, right? Who the king is the epitome. That's why he's the king. He's the epitome of the role model for the country. That's why we crown him the king. So since you're choosing to be an officer and representing the king, then automatically you're accepting the responsibilities that come along with being an officer. So if you're an officer of the king, you have to dress nice. You can't be untucked, because then you're representing the king as a person who's untucked and disheveled. That's not right. So when it comes to humans, and it comes to the people when it comes to having high standards, it's not about having high standards to be better than anyone else. And which is also a big misconception, like, oh, the Jews think they're better than everyone else because we have all these rules and laws. It's nothing to do with that. It's all about just taking the responsibility that if I'm going to represent what I'm saying I am representing, right? Which for our cases, we're representing the king, trying to represent God, trying to present divine energy in the world. If that's what we're trying to represent, then we have to have certain standards, and among those standards are controlling our animal instinct. Because we can't say how can we say we're trying to be godly if we're being animalistic and giving into our instincts, right? So that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love how you just said that. And guys, by the way, you're gonna see this a ton. The reason why Ellie, Shane, and I, this is actually one of my last bullet points over here is why we made this podcast, but we'll skip to it right now, is because we have these talks, as you just see. He says something, and then I just go off, and then I say something, and then it triggers me in a very positive way. So throughout all our episodes, you're gonna see a lot of this happening. We might be talking about a specific topic, and then Ellie will hit a trigger, or I will hit a trigger, and we're gonna go off. But this is part of why Ellie and I decided to make this podcast in the first place. Also because of our chemistry, we're like sitting in the car sometimes. I'm just driving him home, or he's just driving me home. It's 5 minutes drive, but for some reason, 3 hours later, we're still in the car talking, having good life discussion, which brings me back to where we went to Israel and why we decided we're going to work on ourselves. We're going to not be a subject. We're not going to play. We're not going to be a victim. I am in charge of my life. I'm in charge of my destiny. I can change and I can do and I can be whatever I want. And that's why right now, when we're sitting here at 25 years old, it's a very I'm not saying, I don't want to say this as I'm not trying to make myself or Ellie feel good in any sense, but as a person who from 18 years old, when everyone's just trying to have fun, decided fun is very important, but what's the main thing is my quality of life, and that I can have fun for the next 3 years until I'm 21, 23, 24, even 25. And then what then? And what am I doing then? And what am I going to go from then on? I'm supposed to start figuring out my life at 25? Or should I take this time right now at 18, try figuring out all the negative traits so that when I'm 25 and when I actually want to start figuring out my life, when I want to get married, when I want to start a family, when I want to open a business, I'm going to be the person I want to be getting married. I want to be the husband I want to be. I want to be the type of boss a good boss. I've been an employee who hated his boss. I don't want to be the same way. So I have to work on that now. And it takes tons of time, and I'm still probably 90% incomplete, I would say, at least in my refinement of my characters. At least 95%, at least 90%. I maybe accomplished 10% in the past.
That's pretty good.
But it's just because, it came from all of this, how Ellie and I decided, it's a decision, a bunch of other people we're going to have, hopefully we're going to bring on guests who also made this decision. And anyone can make this decision at any time in their life. It's not something you have to be 17 or 18. Anyone can do this at any time to decide, okay, I don't like how my life is right now, but I am in charge of my life. After all, it's called my life. Yes, I can't control. Yeah.
It's a big topic, because like I remember I'm working in construction, so you go to different sites, you meet people on the job for years. I met a guy recently, he's probably in his young 60s, and I was telling him certain things, and he's like, it's too late for me anyway.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not in his position. I don't know his life story. I don't know. I'm not in his shoes. I can't judge him. But it's like, it is never too late. Obviously, we are 25, but it's.
I want to plug in the quote from our Rebbe. You know what? I think this is the perfect time to introduce our Rebbe, our mentor. To me, I consider him my mentor, my master, as just as you would see if you ever watched The Karate Kid or
Mr.
one
Miyagi.
of these movies, Mr. Miyagi. You went and you find someone who really genuinely wants you to have your best life and is not just trying to tell you to do what he thinks will give you the best life. Right? There's people who they want you to have the best life, what they think is considered the best life. So you have to then do what they think, because this is the best life. We know what the best life is, and we want you to have the best life, so do what we say. And then there's the people who get to understand you and get to see what you really want. And they're like, okay, so if you really want that, then this is what you're going to have to do in order to get that. But that's if you want that, right? So then they're not telling you what to do, because they don't have a want of themselves of what they want you to do. They come on saying, what do you want? Which is Rabbi Fisher. Rabbi Jonathan David Fisher from Baltimore, United States of America, currently residing and Rav of Fisher's Yeshiva, Moshav Matityahu. Check him out, Rabbi Yoni Fisher, Instagram.
Quick plug.
The real plug will be, if you want, afterwards, DM me. We'll get you on the WhatsApp. 10 minutes a day will keep the negative inclination away. 10 minutes a day will keep the devil away. How about that? 10 minutes away will keep the devil away. That's like the English post we'll post for his Basilah Shishar, that's the plug right there. But Rabbi Fisher was that type of person. Rebbe, actually, in English, by the way, just for all of those, Rebbe in English means master. So we can translate as Master Fisher. It just flows better from my mouth as Rebbe. So I'm gonna go with Rebbe. So whenever I term Rebbe, it's going to be regarding my master, my mentor, Rabbi Fisher. Go ahead, Ellie.
No, it's just Check it out. The
beautiful.
mic on my way. This is pretty fresh. Look at the directions.
Yeah. Shout out to Akiva Cohen setting up
Yeah.
this crazy set. Obviously,
Thank you.
we're gonna have a gratitude. We're gonna do a little great gratitude list at the end. So we're gonna put that in. But Ellie just reminded me because these mics are fresh. This equipment is fresh, and I'm feeling fresh. Finger guns. All right,
Those are
guys.
legal in Jersey.
Okay,
Let's see
we're
what
gonna
we
get
got.
to the bullet points because otherwise we will be here forever and ever.
Yeah.
As part of, Ellie, you just want to read me the time on the screen right there, just because I don't want to get carried away.
Yeah, right now 6:04. What time? You have to go?
Beautiful, we're good.
Okay, first
We
of all,
can go-
before
yeah.
we even do the introduction, I was thinking like we don't know when this is airing,
Right,
and we do live in the United States of America.
right,
Even with all the craziness going on, that's just a bunch of noise. The concept of, especially the Jewish people, we've been sent all around the world.
Yes.
In every single country, everyone, we all know the story.
thousands of years.
Yeah, so we're here in America. Very grateful to be here. And Memorial Day is Monday, right?
Oh, wow.
People, we know there's obviously, people put their life on the line for the country, and people have lost family members. So we just say we're grateful to the people who put out their lives for us.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, to the families, obviously lost loved ones, families, things like that. We're grateful to be here, and we appreciate being here. And
Our freedom and our freedom right now to sit here and record and be in a beautiful environment, comfortable, and do everything and sit comfortably in a nice chair and with beautiful equipment and with
To
good
not
company
worry,
and
nothing.
not worry and not have to think about walk outside being
Enemy.
safe is because of all the people who served and dedicated their lives to make sure that we can have that. So we are very grateful in that, and thank you so much, Ellie, for bringing that out. That is a major point. Especially in today with a lot of the craziness and where unfortunately a lot of people like to focus on the negative, which is another big topic we'll get into. That's a whole episode itself, focusing on the negative and learning to find the good. That we should just remember the people who started America were all these people that everyone's fighting for right now. Those people who are all scared and all refugees, those were the people who ran to America. America was the place for everyone who was scared, everyone who because of their skin or because of their belief or because of their family name, they were a target. They ran to America for safety. They ran to America for the freedom of you can be whoever you are, and that's 100% okay. And there is nothing wrong with it. And it doesn't matter what color, it doesn't matter what race, it doesn't matter what language, it doesn't matter what nation, it doesn't matter what belief, it doesn't matter what God you serve. It's all okay. And because of that, we've built the most diverse and beautiful country in the modern times. I'm saying there isn't a country like United States of America. As much as we want to, as much as I'm not a political person in the sense of I don't follow politicians. I don't know the governing laws and stuff. I just know that my life is amazing. I have so much freedom, and I know that I've been in other countries and I've stayed there long enough. I've spent enough time in those countries to know that if I was living there, I would not have anything close to what I have here. So regardless of the politicians and the laws and all the, obviously there's a bunch of things that need to work out. No country is perfect and no one has it 100% down pat. Regardless of all that, there is the undeniable fact that I would not be able to live my amazing life I'm living right now if I was not living in America. So thank you, United States of America.
God bless America.
God bless America. Okay, so we're going to quickly run these bullet points before we
Go
get
for
so
it.
distracted. Okay. Another big thing, Ellie and I are very, very strong on this. This is a quote from our sages, probably about 1,000, 2,000 years ago. They wrote this quote. I don't have the exact words, but the idea is spend your words like you would spend gold coins. Spend your words like you would spend gold coins. So there's two things I want to touch on that. There's one is creating your words and choosing your words and thinking before you speak so that your words hold the value of gold coins. The value of gold is because it's rare. If a person is speaking nonstop, then his words are not rare, it has no value. It becomes a penny, it becomes bronze, it becomes a rock. So when you talk about spending the words of the gold coins, the first part is creating your own value of yourself, which comes from learning. It comes from being silent, listening, not listening to answer, just listening for the sake of understanding.